Mr. Speaker, his predecessor spent last week in America trying to flog her new book. In search of fame and wealth, she's taken to slagging off and they made her Prime Minister, now they can't bear talking about her. In search of fame and wealth, she's taken to slagging off and undermining Britain at every opportunity. She claimed that as Prime Minister she was sabotaged by the deep state. She also remained silent as Tommy Robinson, that right-wing thug, was described as a hero. Why is he allowing her to stand as a Tory MP at the next election?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I don't believe a single member of this House supports Tommy Robinson, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, if he wants to talk about former leaders and predecessors, the whole country knows his record because he sat there while anti-Semitism ran rife in this party, and not once but twice backed a man who called Hamas friends, Mr. Speaker. But to their credit, the Shadow Chancellor, the Shadow Home Secretary, and indeed the Shadow Foreign Secretary refused to back the former Labour leader. But he didn't, because he's spineless, hopeless, and utterly shameless.
Mr. Speaker, I've changed my party for the better. He is being changed by his party. The reason he's letting her stand is because he's too weak to do anything about it. It's the story of his leadership. When they refuse to accept any blame for the ruin of the last 14 years, you do wonder who they think has been running the country all this time. Thankfully, the former Prime Minister's on hand again to help. It turns out it's all the fault of the media, the corporate world, and, bizarrely, the President of the United States. Winston Churchill once said, "The price of greatness is responsibility." Now, I don't think the British public are expecting greatness from this Prime Minister, just a bit of accountability. So doesn't think it would be great if, just for once, the Tories actually took some responsibility.
Mr. Speaker, he talks about leadership, he talks about change, but when I learnt of something that I didn't agree with, I suspended one of my MPs straight away. But Mr. Speaker, when he learned of vile anti-Semitic remarks made by a Labour candidate, what did he do, Mr. Speaker? He instructed his team to defend him. He sent a shadow cabinet minister to campaign for him, and he personally backed him for days. And that's the difference between us. I act on my principles. He hasn't got any.
I can't believe he's saying it with a straight face. The former Prime Minister continued on her American odyssey. This journey into the wild west of her mind. She also claimed, Mr. Speaker, that Nigel Farage is the man to restore the Tory party. Can the Prime Minister confirm whether he too would welcome Mr. Farage back into the Tory fold?
Mr. Speaker, in our party, we have a proud tradition of diversity and accepting everyone from every background. Indeed, it is a proud record that puts Labour to shame, Mr. Speaker. This is the party that delivered the first Jewish Prime Minister, the first female Prime Minister, the first black Chancellor, the first Muslim Home Secretary, and now led by the first British Asian Prime Minister. While it seems he can only champion men from North London, it's the Conservatives that represent modern Britain, Mr. Speaker.
So this diverse Tory party does welcome Nigel Farage. The Prime Minister 2 months ago, the Prime Minister said the Tory party is a broad church. I welcome lots of people who want to subscribe to our ideals and our values. This is the same Nigel Farage who said he agreed with the basic premise of Enoch Powell's Rivers of Blood speech and bemoaned the influence of the Jewish lobby. So is the Prime Minister simply too scared to stand up to the gaggle of Tory MPs who moonlight as GB presenters, or does he genuinely think Nigel Farage shares the ideals and values of the Tory party?
Mr. Speaker, he wants to talk about values, but tomorrow in Rochdale, the people will have a choice of 3 former Labour candidates, 2 of which are anti-Semites, Mr. Speaker. The truth is, his party is so mired in hate that despite 3 ex-Labour candidates standing, he can't back a single one of them, Mr. Speaker. It's because we expel anti-Semites, he makes them Labour candidates.
Mr. Speaker, the truth is, these are no longer the Tories your parents voted for, and the public can see it. The Prime Minister has lost control of his party to the hordes of records of malcontents, the tinfoil hat brigade over there, the extremists who wreck the economy, all lining up to undermine him, humiliate him, and eventually to get rid of him. When will he ever stand up to them and end the pathetic spectacle of a Tory party that used to try and beat Nigel Farage, now giving up and dancing to his tune instead?
Mr. Speaker, utterly shameless from someone who stood by while anti-Semitism ran rife in his party, oversaw the appalling situation in Rochdale, and twice backed the member for Islington North. And in the last few last few weeks, we've seen members of Parliament's homes surrounded, their events disrupted, council meetings threatened, and just last week we saw the very rules that govern this place abused because of intimidation, Mr. Speaker. While he might, Mr. Speaker, while he might want to bend to mob rule, we will face down the extremists and stand up for British values.
It is Wednesday, 28 February, year of our Lord 2024, right there at House of Commons today. Triggered, that's Keir, who is going to be the next Labour Prime Minister, because they're going to give a death blow to the Tory party. Brought up our interviews with Liz Truss, the former Prime Minister, and, of course, Nigel Farage at CPAC last week. That's what triggered all this. But the real fight is because I think it's tomorrow, for the first time, as Nigel said on our show, they could have a Islamist party, part of Labour, but a radical Islamist, maybe George Galloway. And these are not anti-Semites. These are Jew haters, could actually be in Parliament and elected tomorrow. So the same situation we talked about in the last hour with about this red-green alliance, this axis between radical Islam and the progressive neo-Marxist left, is really playing out in England, just like Brexit was before Trump's 16 a victory. So the European parliamentary elections in June, and I got to tell you, you're seeing it right there. Every day in Parliament is actually more heated right now than even our own House of Representatives. Pretty heated. We're going to have Chris Pavlovski from Rumble is going to join us momentarily, talk about this, what Rumble's doing about it for First Amendment. The great Laura Loomer, explosive reporting on from Central America about the NGOs and what the NGOs are doing to destroy the United States of America in this border crisis. I want to first go to Rome. Ben Harnwell. Ben, pretty heated there in Commons today about interviews that took place at CPAC last week on War Room. Your thoughts?
Thanks, Stephen. I'm very grateful for the patience of the War Room posse and following the whole of that segment. Look, Steve, this is basically the confirmation of everything we've been saying now for months on the War Room. These issues are front and centre now in the UK political debate. The importance of what we've just seen here, this is Prime Minister's questions, PMQs. It's a once weekly opportunity for the House, for Parliament to interrogate the Prime Minister. It lasts for half an hour. Leader of the opposition, I think, gets six questions. And this is his opportunity to drill down on the Prime Minister and score his maximum political points. And what he's talking about here is an agenda that the War Room has been pushing right on to the domestic. Right, it's been pushing it so hard, it's now on the domestic agenda of the UK. Right, why has Keir Starmer, as you say, is going to be the next Prime Minister. Why has he chosen these issues? Why has he chosen to talk about Nigel Farage, Tommy Robinson, the Liz Truss interview that you give? Why has he brought these up? Why isn't he talking about Ukraine, right, or Gaza, or Hamas in Israel? Why is he drilling down this? Because he knows, and this is what we said on the show yesterday, he knows that the Tory party is split right down the middle on these issues, and that's why he's trying to score maximum political advantage. Look, Nigel Farage is one of the most popular political personalities in the UK. Mentioning him in the House of Commons isn't in and of itself something that would create embarrassment. The reason it creates embarrassment to the Tory party is because they don't know how to handle it, and they don't know how to handle the presence of Reform UK, which is, a new poll came out this morning. I haven't sent it to Denver. I'm sorry about that. That says that the Reform UK is now on its highest rating according to this poll group since the foundation of the party. This is why the Tory party is breaking down, and it's why, of all the issues, Steve, of all the issues the leader of the opposition could drill down on, it's why he's homing in on Liz Truss, Tommy Robinson, Nigel Farage, the deep state, mainstream media, the relationship between anti-Semitism and Hamas that's sort of dominating there in the by-election tomorrow in Rochdale. All these issues are now on the front agenda of the UK political scene, and that can only be good. That can only be good because this is where we're going to dominate.
Yeah. People should know the Reform Party's kind of turned into a populist party. That's what's got them so rattled. I got to bounce. Ben, we'll have you back on tomorrow. But the question, tomorrow, the special election that's happening, could two anti-Semites, I think, are running, not just running their platform. I think Galloway is basically the hatred of Israel and the hatred of Jews. I mean, they're not subtle about this. Could they possibly? Nigel Farage thinks one of these anti-Semites can win. Your thoughts?
It's possible, and it's interesting you mentioned George Galloway himself, who's been in and out of Parliament, first from the Labour Party for a number of decades, and then under a different independent party, I think some 10 years ago. He's interesting, and I'll break this down tomorrow if I can come on the show, and if we have some results, exit poll results already tomorrow. I tell you why George Galloway is interesting, Steve. It's because he's often likened to be the sort of popular. He's like basically a mirror image on the left. He's populist, but he's on the left. As you say, there's a long streak of anti-Semitism. I think he might even be married to a Muslim. So it's very much there. But how he goes, because he's creating an equal discomfort in the Labour Party, in the established mainstream, that Nigel Farage is doing on the right of the spectrum. So I'll break this down when we have some more results, Steve, but it's very interesting.
Remember,
that's the name to watch, George Galloway.
George Galloway. Okay, Ben, see you tomorrow. Thank you. By the way, all of Europe is on tenterhooks. That's why the European parliamentary elections in June are going to be analogous to the Brexit vote in June of 2016 and laying the predicate for the 2024 election here in November. And all of Europe's on tenterhooks about this issue, about the great invasion, radical Islam, Sharia supremacism. In England, this is why throughout Tommy Robinson as being a hero. They can't even talk about it in Parliament. They won't talk about it in Parliament. Only a guy like Tommy Robinson. And Tommy Robinson is a piece of work. People know that. He's a tough guy. He's a rough guy. Want to go to one of the leaders in free speech in our country, and thank God we've got this platform, Rumble. Chris Pavlovski joins us, the CEO, founder of Rumble. Brother, you just saw Commons right there. And remember, in England, they have nowhere near the protections we have. But in the United States, they're going away, too, and people have to be very worried about this. We want full debate. We want heated debate. This is what democracy is about. But, Chris, you guys are under siege all the time, are you not? And I think we've got almost a million people subscribing to War Room over there. And what I love about our Rumble audience is by far the hardest, toughest, sharpest elbows crowd that we have in all the chat rooms. And we got, a half a dozen chat rooms. They're fantastic. We love it. But you guys are under siege too, are you not, sir?
Steve, thanks for having me on. So, yeah, we've been under siege for quite some time now. Am I on mute right now, or is it working? It's saying
no,
mute.
We have you, sir, loud and clear.
All right, great.
Okay,
yeah,
Chris,
so we've been under
Chris,
siege.
keep talking. Thank you.
Yeah, so we've been on siege from the very beginning. Soon as we started growing back in 2020, and we are seeing governments like the New York State come after us when it comes to free speech. They've been attacking free speech in the First Amendment. They tried to put forth a law in New York State that tries to demand that social media platforms have to report back to the state any hateful or any type of speech that that people disagree with. We fought that. We won the first battle. It's being appealed right now, and we just had our hearing about a week ago. So we're under attack all the time when it comes to free expression. We're the tip of the spear, and where it really starts actually is at the infrastructure level. So not only are we attacking it both on the state level and in the legal system, but we're actually building an entire infrastructure, an entirely new highway for people like Rumble, companies like Rumble. As we all remember, Parler got shut down by Amazon AWS. That's not going to happen anymore. Rumble's going to be launching the Rumble Cloud here in the next few weeks, available to the entire public. And that's where it really starts. That's where the highways open up. That's where Rumble can really push forward and be the tip of the spear for freedom of expression.
So how do people support you, and particularly in this fight right now? You're publicly traded. You're a great platform for us. I mean, the War Room wouldn't be the War Room if it was not for Rumble. We got Real America's Voice. We have Lindell TV. We've got Getter. But you guys are very important. Like I said, you bring a different element. Your audience is on top of things. Your audience is aware. They have a sense of urgency, and they're tough hombres. I mean, we get guests on here that may not be with the program, and they're the first to say, "Get them off, give them the hook." I mean, Rumble is, I think, populated with brawlers, which we love. So, how can people continue to support you in these fights? You got these fights all over the country. What do they do?
Yeah, so we're publicly traded right now on the NASDAQ under ticker symbol RUM. And the best way to support Rumble is to create an account, download the app, watch your show on either the apps or on television. They can participate and engage with the shows, get into those chats, be a part of the community. That's the best way to support Rumble. That's how we keep winning. The bigger the community becomes, the more people that subscribe to your show, and the more that you grow, the more we push back against all the conglomerates on the tech side. We push back against YouTube. We could push back against all the different platforms out there, and really grow the community on Rumble. And that's the best way to show the world that it matters. And I think there was just a poll that came out. And it's a really interesting poll because I think it was done by Fire as well. And it said 69% of Americans believe the country is on the wrong track with free speech. That's a big number. I would like to see it even higher, but still, that's a very large number. And when it comes to Rumble's, like I said, it's the tip of the spear when pushing back on free speech and really doing what the majority of Americans want to see. The majority of Americans want to be able to talk freely. They want to be authentic. They don't want to be muzzled. They don't want to be told they can't say something. And we definitely don't want to be people that are told you can't. Told what you can and can't say online. The idea of interaction in communities online is to be able to speak freely and really be able to communicate in a very authentic way. Anything other than that is inauthentic, it's fake, and no one wants to see it. So Americans are starting to wake up to that. 69% are saying it's heading in the wrong direction. Rumble is the vehicle that is pushing it in the right direction. We're pushing. We're the tip of the spear when it comes to allowing people to have real, authentic conversations online.
Chris, thank you so much. By the way, we're permanently banned on YouTube, but we're a big hit on Rumble. And we really thank you for that, brother. And it hasn't hurt us at all. That show's bigger than ever because of platforms like you. Chris, thank you so much. We'll make sure we get everybody to download the app and maybe even go in the chat if they're brave enough. If you're brave enough to go into the Rumble chat. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Just amazing. Great company. need your support. Make sure you just download the app or go to the website and download. I got Laura Loomer. Laura, before starting with your amazing, and Panama and Central America got loomered this weekend. The NGOs did, as only you can do. I want to ask your thoughts, and I don't want to get in the details of your case because I know there's some controversy about that, etc. But when we played Commons right there, and you saw what happened in Michigan last night, and believe it that there could actually be what Nigel Farage calls the Islamist wing of the Labor Party could be voted into Commons tomorrow. Give me your assessment. You watched this. You've been to Israel. You're one of the great fighters for Israel. Give me your assessment when you see the United Kingdom, and that was 6 minutes of intensity all around one aspect, and that is about the anti-Semitism and, quite frankly, the Jew hatred that just comes through the Labor Party in the more radical parts of the English culture. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Well, it's really interesting to me and quite hypocritical to be seeing Muslims. Okay, these are Pakistani Muslim representatives in the parliament in the UK who are trying to be arbiters of truth as it relates to anti-Semitism when they have allowed for under the leadership of people like Sadiq Khan, right, the mayor of London, to turn London into an Islamic shithole. I mean, let's be honest about what it is, okay? And, I heard you in the previous interview talk about radical Islam. It's not radical Islam, it's just Islam. And anybody that wants to dispute that can pick Quran in for themselves and find out that that's Islam in its form. And it's interesting that they want to call Tommy Robinson an anti-Semite, and they say that, oh, we can't talk about Tommy Robinson, when it's Tommy Robinson, who's a dear friend of mine, who spent time in prison and then put him in the same prison with Islamic gangbangers, hoping that they were going to murder him in jail, simply because he was exposing the rise of jihad and this jihadist invasion of the UK. And he did a phenomenal documentary about anti-Semitism as well. And so it's the same thing they do to me here in the United States, right? I'm a Jewish woman, yet they call me an anti-Semite. They call me an Islamophobe. And the judge who ordered the raid on Mar-a-Lago has ordered pay CARE over $125,000, right? That stands for the Council on American Islamic Relations, and I'm not allowed to speak about them, right, per this court order. But you get the point. That same culture that is existing now in the UK is very much alive here in the United States as well. We have jihadists serving in the United States Congress. Just look at Ilhan Omar. Look at Rashida Tlaib. We have pro-Sharia attorney generals. Look at the case of Keith Ellison, who is the first Muslim attorney general in the United States in Minnesota.
I want to talk about, we're going to go to break here. We'll play your amazing investigative reporting for Central America. But I want to go back to last night. And I said on the morning show and then earlier in the 5 o'clock that this was a seminal moment. I mean, this was a full flex. You had what we call the red-green axis, the neo-Marxist radical left, who are all for, LGBTQ and all that until it comes with partnering with Sharia supremacists, and then they're fine with that to take down the Judeo-Christian West. How important, because right now, that was a full flex, and they showed the Biden regime, who has not been supportive of Israel at all, they basically said, unless you flip sides here, you're not going to win Michigan. And if you don't win Michigan, Joe Biden, it's mathematically impossible for Joe Biden to win the presidency unless he wins Michigan. Your thoughts, ma'am?
Look, the enemy of our enemy is not necessarily our friend in this case. You have places in Michigan like Dearborn and Hamtramck that I've visited and I've investigated, and you have people that live in these communities who are literally flying and waving in their communities. Okay. FBI statistics show that the number one ISIS recruitment location in the United States is Ilhan Omar's home district in Minneapolis. And then second to that is Rashida Tlaib's. There's a reason why. Because these people are full-blown jihadists, and it's not a surprise. They aren't now voting for Joe Biden because under Islam and under Sharia law and in these Sharia supremacist nations, like majority Muslim countries, they kill gay people. And so the left found an alliance, rather unholy alliance with the Muslims in our country because they thought, okay, we're going to be able to make them anti-Trump because Donald Trump is implementing the travel ban. But now that the Muslims, right, are are arriving in record numbers through this invasion on our southern border. I showed you through my investigation this week in Panama. I encountered Iranians. I encountered Afghanis. I encountered Somalis, all of whom said they love Ilhan Omar and the Democrats, by the way. But one thing that they absolutely will not stand for is homosexuality, right? And that's why they're now starting to speak out about Joe Biden. And so too, they are not just anti-Semites, they are Jew haters who wish to not only kill Jews, but also to kill the Christians. And it's not just about the Jews. What starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews, right? Christians of this country better wake the hell up too, because all these invaders that groups like HIAS and Catholic Charities and the Obama administration and the Biden administration imported for years through terms like refugee resettlement. No, those are all bloodthirsty Islamic invaders who are here to implement an Islamic caliphate and wave the Islamic flag in the United States Capitol.
Hang on for 1 second. Laura Loomer's going to join us. We'll show some footage from her investigative report, particularly these NGOs, Catholic Charities, the Hebrew Organization, the Lutherans, the Adventists, all of it. Birchgold.com. You think it's turbulence? You saw the way we opened with Commons? The House of Representatives the same way. Turbulent times. For over 5,000 years of man's recorded history, gold has been a hedge. Birchgold.com/Bannon. Go there today. Talk to Philip Patrick and the team about gold as a hedge in times of financial turbulence. Back in a moment.
Hey everybody, so I'm currently in Panama. I'm at the Bajo Chiquito migrant camp, which is the first point of contact for many of these migrants who then get out of the Darien Gap and are trying to then get to other migrant camps like Lajas Blancas or take the bus to Costa Rica so that they can continue their path, ultimately going to the United States of America. And you can see here we have a map that's been provided by HIAS, which is a Jewish organization. It's disgusting. As a Jew, as an American, somebody who's in favor of closed borders, I find it to be absolutely disgraceful that groups like HIAS, which stands for the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, are using Judaism as a cloak to traffic human beings around Central and South America and then into the United States. Here, you can see that it's in cooperation with the United Nations, and they have all the routes listed. So for all the migrants that want to know where they should go once they arrive here, starting from Colombia, the entrance to the Darien Gap, right, here's all the different locations and stops. They tell them the weather in each location, the height of the water, the current, and then to Panama. So it's Colombia, Panama. We're currently now in Bajo Chiquito. That line over there, if you want to pan the camera, you can show them. That's where they're supposed to be getting registered. To the other migrant camp, Lajas Blancas, where they'll then get on a bus. And then you see here they have Lajas Blancas listed. San Vicente is another camp. That's a camp that has a lot of Chinese migrants present. And then ultimately, right, they take the bus to go to Costa Rica. And you see here on these maps, they have all of the bus stops listed, just like on that map over there that I showed you. So again, these are all NGOs, leftist organizations. This one happens to be a Jewish organization, but they're all working in conjunction with the United Nations. And what needs to happen if we're going to secure our country and shut down the border, we need to start with defunding and also prosecuting officials at the NGOs. HIAS needs to be shut down. Catholic Charities needs to be shut down. The United Nations needs to be completely defunded. And any leftist politician or so-called charity or nonprofit that is aiding and abetting these groups, they need to be charged. They need to be charged with human trafficking because these are egregious conditions. You see here children in tents. Look at children on the ground in filth with garbage. There's women that are getting raped. The map over there had information for women who have been raped on their journey to the Darien Gap. There's bodies in the jungle. People are drowning in the jungle. This is not a route of migration for human beings. It's very dangerous. And if you ask a lot of people here whether they would do it again, they would say no, because you can see, right, look, the woman next to me has blisters all over her feet. They're bleeding. There's flies, right? They have flesh-eating maniasis here. They have leishmaniasis. They have screwworm. And all of these diseases, right, you have a fly land on feces and land on an open cut. And people are going to be getting all types of infections. It smells awful here. No plumbing. You know, it makes it worse because it's like hot outside. So honestly makes you want to gag or like want to vomit. Like, but it needs to be shut down.
Okay, Loomer, you're one of the few people who can do this. I want you to connect And folks, you got to know, you can go to Laura Loomer's site. She's got so much footage that is unbelievable in so many different aspects. But I want you to connect for our audience. The fight on Capitol Hill that we know we're not going to get any policy wins. I already told us that. No cuts in budget, no policy wins. Policy wins would be get rid of the woke and weaponized funding of like these NGOs. Connect what's the battle on Capitol Hill for the next couple of days till midnight on March 1st. What you reported down there in Central America and what's going on in Michigan with this full flex by the Arab American community, ma'am.
Well, as you could see there, right? HIAS stands for the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, Steve. And what they are is a Jewish NGO. We have a lot of religious NGOs in our country. One of them is Catholic Charities. But in this case, it's the Jews that are providing maps with very detailed instructions to these illegal alien invaders.
Slow down. Hang on. The Hebrew Society, correct me if I'm wrong, was started, I think, over 100 years ago. Wasn't this a group that actually helped Jews get out of the pogroms of Russia and Poland and get them to Western countries or get them out? I mean, it was started for a reason of helping Jews in certain countries that were being abused, right?
Look, a lot of these Jewish organizations claim that they were created or were founded on the basis of trying to help Jews. Look at the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, that now spends its time rallying around Islamists and defaming good Jews like myself, right? So, yeah, I mean, look, it doesn't really matter what they did 100 years ago if they're now facilitating and helping carry out the invasion of our country. I don't really care who they helped. And I say that as a Jew myself, and we have to call it out. Because what they're doing is they're receiving funds from our United States government. If you look at their financials, and I actually posted a screenshot of this today, Steve, on my Twitter account, okay, you can see their 2022 financial report that shows that they received over $59 million, okay, from the United States government, and they're receiving money from Department of Homeland Security. The $59 million came from the State Department, and then they received another about $29 million or so from another government agency funded by the taxpayers, and $10,000 from Department of Homeland Security. Why do I bring this up? Because Alejandro Mayorkas, who isn't even Alejandro, that's just more identity politics BS, Steve. He's actually a Jewish Cuban. And there's a guy by the name of Dr. Jeff Gunter, who's currently running for Senate in Nevada right now, who went to high school with Alejandro Mayorkas. And he showed me the yearbook photos that showed that Alejandro never went by Alejandro until he wanted to be a DEI hire. He went by Ollie, and he would tout the fact that he was Jewish more than the fact that he was Cuban. And his yearbook photos show him playing tennis in little short shorts with a Jewfro, right? So it just shows you the nonsense when you see him testifying about, oh, I understand the plight of these people. It's not an invasion. I'm a Latino. No, he's not really. And he was a former board member, Steve, of HIAS, and his brother is still financially tied to the organization. So just think about this. This group that is responsible for the invasion of our country, HIAS, they're giving invaders maps with instructions on how to get to our country. Their former board member is now the secretary at DHS, and he's funding money. He's funneling money to these people. I mean, we are literally self-financing the invasion of our own country with our taxpayer money, Steve.
Laura, when you were down there, and you have Catholic Charities, you have the Lutherans, you have the Adventists, and then you've got the UN. You were down there at Panama at the base. Is there any doubt in your professional mind as an investigative reporter, in fact, one of the top investigative reporters in the country, that the vast majority of these people are coming here as economic migrants to essentially have a better life, and not because of the types of persecution you need to be granted asylum, political persecution to be granted political asylum, ma'am?
Look, they say that they want to come here for a better life, but what I found and what I discovered is that these NGOs like the United Nations and HIAS, they're actually coaching these invaders, Steve, on what to say so that they can be granted temporary protected status at the border or refugee status, right, or asylum. Some of these people, like the Somali I found in the camp, said that he spent $15,000, okay? How does a 22-year-old Somali kid get $15,000? Most Americans don't even have $15,000 sitting around, right? So they want to say that they're poor, but they all have cell phones. And that's one thing that I noticed is that every single invader had a smartphone. If you're really poor, you're not going to have a smartphone, right? You're just not. I mean, there's priorities in this world, and having a smartphone isn't one of them if you're poor and you don't have food and you don't have water. And so they want to tell people what to say so that they get fast-tracked when they cross our border. And what I also found to be really concerning is that a lot of these invaders, Steve, have a very deep understanding of our United States political system. I asked Venezuelans, I asked Afghanis, I asked Iranians and Chinese, oh, what do you think about Joe Biden? Oh, we love Joe Biden. Joe Biden, nos apoyan. You could see the video for yourself in the middle of the river in the jungle near the Bajo Chiquito migrant camp. There, I speak Spanish. I was speaking to these people in Spanish. They said they hate Trump. They called them a puta, which is basically bitch in Spanish. And they said they don't like Trump because he's going to deport them. And I actually have video that I haven't released yet, Steve, that shows these invaders talking about how they're going to get mail-in ballots and vote for Joe Biden in the upcoming presidential election. I have that video. I haven't released it yet.
Is this, people say, oh, it's chaotic, it's disorganized, you got to shut down the chaotic border, the anarchy. Did you find this chaotic, or did you actually see a pretty well greased system that the NGOs are actually one of the prime movers here to get as many invaders into the country, into the United States as possible, as quickly as possible?
It's pretty organized. It's chaotic once they arrive in our country, and that's by design, of course. But the way that they have this system down, right, you have the illegals, they come in through the Darien Gap, they get through the jungle, then a piragua, which is basically one of the little water boats, goes and picks them up at the end of the jungle on the Panamanian side. They take them to Bajo Chiquito. They get processed by the UN Refugee Agency with a Senafront officer. That's the Panamanian Border Patrol. And look, the Senafront Border Patrol people, they're doing an excellent job. It's not Panama's fault that this is happening. You have Colombia that is doing nothing to stop this. You have Venezuela that's doing nothing to stop this. And I actually interviewed Oriol Ortega, who was the former head of Senafront, and he's now an advisor, a national security advisor, Steve, to the president of Panama. And I said to him, you know, Mr. Ortega, and it's in Spanish, and we're working on translating the interview for the audience here. I said, Mr. Ortega, you actually met with Alejandro Mayorkas last year in April when he came to Panama and implemented Operation Controlled Flow at the Darien Gap. He also testified in front of Congress and said this wasn't an invasion. Do you think that Alejandro Mayorkas lied to Congress when he said it wasn't an invasion? And Oriol Ortega said, yes, this is an invasion. It's an invasion in the United States, and it's an invasion in Panama. And he said that the United States is funding this. And so that's pretty damning, right? When you have the head of Border Patrol from Panama, which is now a transit country for most of these illegals that are coming into our nation, saying that Alejandro Mayorkas is not being honest when he says this is not an invasion.
You've done investigative reporting all over the world, from Israel to Europe, UK, everywhere. How big a danger is this? How is it overhyped to say that their military